Hi, and welcome to yet another episode of the Immigrant Success Canada's podcast, your coaching program for a successful and happy life in Canada. My name is Emanuel Petrescu, and I have my co host and partner.
I'm Charlie Beck.
And together we have, and today we have our, and today we have Laura Beck as a guest again, a second podcast episode in a row. Hi, Laura.
Hi, thank you for having me again today.
And before we dive right into today's subject, young Canadians' view about immigrants in Canada and about immigration overall, let's take a moment and talk a little bit about our coaching program. Charlie, do you want to take just 2 minutes to talk briefly about our coaching program, the modules, and why we put together this program?
Absolutely. Thank you, Emanuel. Our coaching program is for immigrants to improve their happiness and also success in Canada for the long term. We are targeting for the next 20 years. So, Emanuel and I developed a coaching program which will provide you a guide in life in Canada. So we have 5 modules in our program. So you can find out our program by visiting our website, isc-go.com.
And it's right here on our screen. So if you have any questions, concerns, or want to learn more or simply contact us, go to www.ifc-go.com. Now, Laura, you are a Canadian born out of immigrant parents, right?
Yes, that's
And
correct.
as we learned in our previous episode where we talk about education and you shared a lot of useful information about the education programs available in Canada, the Canadian public system, and so on. But coming back to immigrants and immigration, what are your views on immigration in Canada?
I have a bit of an influenced view on immigrants because both of my parents are immigrants. And because I know of their story and the hardships that they went through throughout their immigration process, I have a lot of respect for those who have the courage to leave their home countries and enter a new country because it's very difficult for a number of reasons, such as language barrier, cultural differences. Picking up your life from one country and moving to another is also a whole spiel on its own. So I have a lot of respect for immigrants, and I have a lot of friends whose parents are also immigrants. So I can see that each person has their own story, and each immigration experience is different. And yes.
How, growing up in an immigrant family, how did you experience all this? How much did it influence, I don't know, your lifestyle, the decisions you made, basically everything?
Yeah, so growing up in my hometown, there wasn't very much diversity. So I didn't know any other Korean families growing up. So culturally, um, I would keep my Korean culture at home. And when I would go out to school or outside in my community, I didn't really experience that at all. So my father, he was fluent in English. So at home, we would speak English. I never learned how to speak Korean in my childhood. But thankfully, despite living in a city with low diversity, it was mainly a Caucasian population in my hometown. I didn't receive much discrimination due to my race or my culture differences growing up, which is very lucky of me. I feel very fortunate that I had a good experience growing up. But I did feel a bit of a difference between my peers in how my parents wanted to teach me, my parents' values. Those were a bit different growing up, but I do think that having a different perspective from my parents helped me in my own skills and growing as a person and in my adulthood as well. I think the values that my parents had, and learning the differences between Korean and Western culture, I think my view now is a lot more broadened.
Those are very interesting insights, and you touch on a very delicate subject uh, about discrimination and the likes, and that's probably an entire podcast episode in itself that we will do at one point, Charlie and I. But what about based on what Laura said? What's the parents' perspective, Charlie?
Mm, I think it's for me as a parent, uh, the more the most important thing is to understand and accept differences among people and the diversity. And at the end of the day, we are all human beings. So I think when you have a positive attitude, you'll find good things. So at the end of the day, there are more good people than bad people. So I think that's kind of attitude is very important wherever you are. So I think that's one of the things I like to teach my children: be positive on everything. The glass is always half full, not half empty, right? That kind of concept is very important for me in terms of values.
Those are very healthy values, healthy foundation that you have seated. So congratulations. Which brings us to another topic of the highly debated topic, and let me ask you both. First, Laura, and then move on to Charlie. Do you think Canadians need more or fewer immigrants?
At least in my experience, in my hometown and growing up, I think I benefited a lot from having immigrants come to my hometown since we were a population of low diversity. It was really refreshing and comforting to see other people with similar experiences to me when I would see new students at my school. And I do think that in the age that we're in right now of technology and internet and interconnectedness, it's really important to meet and interact with people of different cultures and those from different countries because nowadays everybody's connected through the internet. So I think that moving forward, we definitely have a need for immigrants and new people coming to Canada.
Charlie, what are your thoughts about this question?
I believe that Canada needs more immigrants because immigrants bring diversity and different energy to Canada. So, based on my own experience in Canada, we have Canadian born people and immigrants, and then also indigenous people who lived here for a long time. So, I think we have three groups of people: immigrants, non-immigrants, and then indigenous people. So three groups of people needed to collaborate and also mm, live together. So how harmoniously? So I think that's can be challenging, but that's good thing overall for Canada. Because of this diversity, I think we are one of the best countries to live in the world, not just economically, but socially and everything. So we are not perfect, but we have really good things such as stable government and then public health system and education and less violence. And also another good thing is we have less environmental disasters, right, compared to other countries. So overall, I think although uh, there are some people who concerned about the number of immigrants. Not recently, our federal government announced we will accept 500,000 new immigrants by 2025 every year, so which is significantly a high number compared to for the last several decades. But one of the key reasons is we are experiencing extreme labor shortages. So, for example, in the industry and the region where I live, a lot of companies are struggling to find workers and labor force. So now, luckily, there are more immigrants coming in and then into town and then in the industry. So we are hiring them. So I think we need definitely more immigrants for Canada.
Then this is a good moment to tell our listeners who are considering coming to Canada how our program can help. Why would they enroll? How can ISC Go program help a newcomer who will basically change his life by moving to Canada from whatever part of the world he might be?
Because the reason Emmanuel and I developed this program is that not just for success. Success means important thing for you, but at the same time you have to be happy while you live here. So for me, I have lived here more than 20 years, and as an immigrant, I strongly believe that you have to enjoy both outcome and also process. So that's unique and different part of our program. Our coaching program is not just for success. We are trying to help you to be successful and also happy for the long term, for the next 20 years. So, because that's why we developed this program, and then through this program, you'll have high quality coaching about how you go through each stage of immigration life. So first stage and second, third, right? How you go through. Because I have gone through those process, so I know what the challenges and opportunities, and then how to navigate those processes. So by having this guidance, you will be have a much higher success rate in your life in Canada.
And be more happier, hopefully. I like to say that Charlie and I designed this program as intended for us, in my case, 7, 8 years ago, and in Charlie's case, more than 20 years ago, the program that we wished we would have had when we came here. Back to the show now. Laura, some say another highly debatable question, highly controversial, but we need to address it. There are many peoples who are opposing newcomers, who are opposing immigrants, and they make arguments such as immigrants take jobs away from Canadians, and many other comments that I don't want to reinforce, but still, that's a reality that we face as immigrants. And what are your thoughts on that? On this I won't call it necessarily trend, but this
Um,
idea.
as a university student, I'm job searching, trying to find experience through internships or part-time jobs throughout my school so that when I graduate, I'm able to find a job. But not although I feel the competitiveness of my peers, trying to keep up and keeping my resume competitive, I've never considered immigrants as a sole reason why somebody would be chosen for a job or perhaps placed higher than me for selection for a job. I've never considered that. And I do think companies will simply pick who they think would be the best match for them. And I don't think that by having immigrants, it is lessening my chances of achieving the opportunities that I want to pursue.
That's very good point you made there, Laura, and we're gonna quote you on that. Charlie, I believe you have experience all kinds of situations throughout your life. What are your comments from a Canadian, but also from an immigrant perspective, right? Whenever you hear somebody, and I'm pretty sure you hear them talk every now and then, right? You hear this narrative that's been going on, not just in Canada, but we're talking about what's happening in Canada because this is where we live. What are your thoughts? What stories you can share with us?
Let me tell you one story which I experienced in my hometown. So I used to play badminton in our community, and after playing badminton, one of the old gentlemen came to me and then he told me that, Charlie, I am very concerned because a lot of immigrants take away jobs from Canadians. So he said he's strongly against about immigration. So, so I expressed my own opinion about that. So that's true. There are some Canadians who are opposing to accepting more immigrants because they felt that those immigrants take away their jobs. So my viewpoint is that now we are living in globalized world, right? So everything is communicated across the world, and then we compete not just in Canada, across the world to become a better country and a better person. So it's a reality. So we have to be the best person to be selected for your job or whatever opportunities. So which means that it is based on merit. So what kind of qualification and skills you have. So another thing I like to tell you is that according to the statistics, immigrants generate a lot of jobs by becoming a business owners, entrepreneurs. So actually, so they are creating more jobs than non-immigrants in Canada. So when you look at those statistics, actually they are contributing, creating jobs, and also improving overall productivity. So that's another reason why we need more immigrants and qualified and talented and smart and happy immigrants into Canada.
Uh, Again, some solid points you made there. You also mentioned a merit system, and we know that Canada has a system of points that may be subject to change more recently. But for example, when you came to Canada, there were some certain criterias you need to meet, right, in order for you to come here. And many people went through that process, right? A point system that's highly known, and only a couple of countries have this system made. What can you tell us about that and about your experience, which was 20 years or 25 years ago?
Yeah, basically, Canadian immigration system is based on qualifications. So they give points based on several categories, right? So your age, education, and work experience. And they look at those things, and then the people who got the highest score are accepted into Canada. So we are screening the best qualified people across the world. So which means those people who are accepted into immigration to Canada, they are already successful and really good people in their own countries. So that's why the benefits of immigrants outweigh the cons of the immigrants.
Great, great points and great info as well. Again, I'd like to make a reference to our coaching program, Immigrant Success Canada, and how it can help a newcomer who might already be in Canada already or might consider or having everything ready, his paperwork, his luggage, waiting to just board on the plane and wants to learn more. And what would you tell somebody like that, Charlie?
Yeah, my advice to them is that you need to have both short-term and long-term goals and perspective. So coming into Canada is or might be one of the biggest decisions you made in your life. So to make it successful, you need a plan, especially long-term plan. Without those plans, you might give up and go back to your home country. So which is not good for you and for the people you care about. So Emmanuel and I want to help you to become successful and happy for the next 20 years. That's our goal and our passion.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Laura, before we end this episode, any final thoughts you like to share with our listeners from your perspective? A immigrant parent, Canadian born student from Canada. What would you say to somebody like your father, but 20 something years ago when he decided to make the move and bring his young boy, very newly born, and wife to Canada? What would you say?
I think that most people immigrating to Canada understand that it's a very grueling process and that it will require a lot of dedication to immigrate successfully. But I think that there are so many resources, not only such as this coaching program, but also in the communities across Canada that'll help you get through it. And you will be able to find success um, no matter how long it may take. There's so many different ways that you can receive help, and that you're not alone, and so many other people are also experiencing this, and you can gain insight and advice from them as well. Um, and to just go for what you want, and if immigration is your goal, you'll be able to achieve that goal as long as you reach out for help.
Amazing. Charlie, some final thoughts on the subject.
Yeah, it was a great discussion, and thank you to Laura for joining us and then provide us your own perspectives from a young Canadian. And so, through our podcast, we like to talk about some more serious and important topics too, not just about our program, because it is very important for immigrants to be good citizen in Canada. So that's what we are trying to do.
Thank you so much, Charlie. Thank you so much, Laura. Um, until the next episode, www.isc-go.com. That's the website of the Immigrant Success Canada, your coaching program for a successful and the most important aspect, happy life in Canada. My name is Emanuel.
My name is Charlie Beck.
Until the next time,